Hello and welcome to the second part of the video tutorial series about how to integrate the SCILL SDK in your Unreal Engine game to establish greater user retention and motivation. In the last video we got started with SCILL by creating an account, downloading the Unreal SDK and by looking at our example project that we will be working on. In this video we want to continue by looking at both the SCILL API in general and the Unreal SDK. We will discuss the intended workflows in the Unreal project and have a look at common problems that you might run into. So to start this off, we first want to look at SCILL in general. As you learned in the last video, SCILL is a gamification service that you can use to boost your application's user motivation and, as a consequence, user retention. SCILL currently offers three types of tools for this: personal challenges, battle passes, and leaderboards. Although they've been designed with certain use cases in mind, they are quite generic and can each be used in different ways. Personal challenges provide your users with specific objectives that they can try to fulfill in a given time to receive a certain reward. Personal challenges can be used to create daily, weekly or otherwise repeating challenges or create achievements. The detailed life cycle of a personal challenge can be looked up at the SCILL documentation. But generally, a personal challenge starts in the unlock state for each user and after unlocking needs to be activated. Then the state of the challenge is tracked using incoming events of your application. If an event matches the tracked event type, the challenge is adjusted according to the event's metadata. Once the challenge is completed, it turns unclaimed, and after the user claims it, it either changes to complete or back to unlock. Battle passes work in a similar way, but they embed the challenges in a structure that is inspired by the famous battle passes that are present in many games nowadays. A battle pass consists of several battle pass levels that in turn consist of several challenges. Once all challenges of a level are completed, the user can claim the battle pass level reward. The life cycles of battle passes, battle pass levels and their challenges are adjusted accordingly. Lastly, there are leaderboards. They encourage users through rivalry. For each leaderboard you can determine which event type should be tracked in which way. Then each player's score is calculated just the same way as with challenges and the rank is determined accordingly. To manage these you can use the SCILL Admin Panel or the SCILL Admin API. For this tutorial we'll have a look at the Admin Panel. Log in and add an app if you have not yet done so. You might also need to create an API key for that app as well. Once done, let us quickly have a look at the app's ID and API key. You will not need them now, but later you will have to provide your app ID and API key to the Unreal SDK. You can copy the app ID in the Apps tab by clicking this copy icon here. The API key can also be copied in the App API Keys tab with this icon. Now we will create the challenges that we want to include in our app, as well as create a simple battle pass and leaderboard. In our example, we track the most kills in a round in the leaderboard and have some achievements, like killing a certain amount of enemies in a round, using a certain amount of items, reaching a certain wave and so on. The player will be rewarded souls for each challenge. The battle pass consists of 3 levels and each level consists of 3 challenges that work as an introduction to the game and should produce motivation early in. Here we use the value property to reference an icon for each battle pass level. The game will provide the player with some souls again for beating each battle pass level. If you need any more help with creating and managing your app's challenges and battle passes, you can have a look at the Getting Started guide in the SCILL documentation. You can test your changes in your application in the playground. You can find it in the Apps tab in the Actions column. Here you can communicate with the SCILL API on behalf of a certain user. Explore the challenges, leaderboards and battle passes you just created and send according events to see if everything is configured correctly. So this is a rough overview of the SCILL API. Again, if you need more detailed information, look at their extensive documentation and Getting Started guides. Now we want to have a deeper look at the Unreal SDK and how that works. This is the readily built example. Here we have already added the SDK properly to show where the needed assets should go. Before starting, again make sure to enable the SCILL plugin in the plugins dialog of the Unreal editor. Generally, the SDK consists of 2 actor components, an interface and several UI widgets. One actor component, the SCILL client, is best added to the player controller, as it resides on both the game server and client. The other component, which is the SCILL backend client, is best added to the game mode so that it is only present on the game server. Lastly, we should implement the SCILL level persistence interface in the game instance. As you might have learned from the previous chapter, SCILL relies on the server-client structure of your game. While you do not need to have an Unreal server, you should really consider using any kind of dedicated game server, so that you do not have to ship your app's API key with your game client to your users. One special case the API key is used for is to retrieve an access token for a user and pass that to a client. The other cases are to send SCILL events with verified metadata and retrieve updates about challenges and leaderboards and trigger the respective game events, like claiming a reward for a completed challenge. So while it is completely viable to create an Unreal game server, you could also use a small HTTP API on a secure server that takes the client's username and requests an access token on their behalf, and receives the updates to initiate the proper events in your game. In that case, we do not need to care about running an Unreal server, and we can just use the SCILL client actor component, which then only lives on the game client. If you are going for the Unreal server method, we need the SCILL client backend component. For this example we will go that way, although we have a single player game and you will more likely have a dedicated Unreal server on multiplayer games. The SCILL client backend component holds all functions that should only be accessible for the game server. It can be used to retrieve an access token for a specified user or send an event. Another important function is the set API key function. Since you do not want to package the API key in your game, you should make it accessible to your Unreal server only and read it during the runtime of your server's Unreal game. Then you can set the API key without having to make it accessible to your users. Surely the packaged Unreal content is encrypted, but no encryption is 100% secure. The SCILL client component holds all functions that are needed to get information about your app's current state in the scope of the current player and send actions on their behalf. In this component you will need to set the generated access token from the SCILL client backend component. Once that is done, you can retrieve the status of challenges, battle passes and leaderboards, activate, unlock or cancel challenges and battle passes or claim their rewards. Additionally, you can provide SCILL with player data like a player name and an icon that is used in the leaderboards. Also, you can start real-time updates on this component. You might want to do this on both the game client and game server. The client will use the updates to adjust shown UI and the server will use it to trigger game events based on claim rewards of challenges. Note that almost all functions of these two components use callback events or functions. This is because the calls are asynchronous and the time needed for requests from the SDK to the SCILL HTTP API is not predictable. Once a response is received, the referenced callback will be executed while the game can run normally in the meantime. Lastly, we have the SCILL level persistence interface. This should be implemented by the game instance of your game because it will only be present on your game's client. This is used to keep the user ID and access token persistent between levels during the runtime. While most other objects are destroyed upon unloading a level, the game instance stays alive and thus has these properties unchanged in the next level. So this is it for our short introduction to the SCILL API and the Unreal SDK. Now in the next video we will finally start to extend the sample project with the SDK and see some results. While the next video will mainly cover the game client side to retrieve information and present it to the user, we will have a look at the game server's logic in the video after that. I hope this video helps you understand the Unreal SCILL SDK a little bit better. So see you in our next video, take care and bye.